Asmi Rāma Shastra Britham Aham Jashanam Makaraschasmi Shrotasam Asmi Janavi. Of purifiers I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons I am Rāma. Of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the holy Ganges. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest, and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus the shark represents Krishna. And of rivers, the greatest in India is the Mother Ganges. Lord Ramchandra of the Ramayana, an incarnation of Krishna, is the mightiest of warriors. The 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. In these verses, Lord Sri Krishna is revealing to all of us how we could perceive Him and meditate upon Him in our daily lives. Krishna is the essence of everything that exists. He is the creator of all the material and spiritual worlds. He is also the maintainer and ultimately the destroyer. As the Paramatma, He is seated within the heart of every living being, and He is in and between every atom. Just sit down. We are concerned with hearing the message of Krishna. We are not concerned with anything else. When the sages were gathered together on the bank of the Ganges, Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Every devotee was in rapt attention. And according to our attention and our eagerness to hear, that is how we benefit from the message of Krishna consciousness. But our attention is so weak. Someone gets up to turn a switch, and everyone is looking toward the person turning the switch. Someone starts to walk, and everyone's looking at who's walking. That means we are not really very concerned with hearing the message of Krishna. If we were really concerned with the message of Krishna, even if there were earthquakes, we would not turn our head away. Because we understand there's nothing so important. Nothing should divert our attention from Krishna's name or Krishna's message. But we are so easily diverted. One boy stands up to fix the fan, and everyone is looking toward him. Everyone is saying, what is he doing? Our anxiousness to hear is the quality that awakens Krishna within our heart. Our attentiveness, Srinvatam Sukata Krishna Punja Sravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabadrani Vidunauti Suritsitam. This means that when Krishna sees that we are really anxious to hear His message, He reciprocates and purifies all of the anarthas, all of the unwanted things in our heart. And our own spiritual master, this was the one attribute that his Gurudev, Srila Saraswati Thakur, first admired in him. That he was so anxious to hear. He was not diverted by any situation. With rapt attention, he would simply hear. Even if he didn't understand what was being said, he was fixed in keeping his attention on the message of Krishna Katha. Because you see, transcendental sound vibration is not something... Nobody turned their head. That means some progress is being made over the past few minutes. Krishna is testing us in so many ways. Everyone's afraid now to turn. But that is very good. Fear is the beginning of God realization. I was saying? What was I saying? That means you are attentive. That means you understand. Even if you do not understand the subject being spoken so well, the sound vibration is transcendental. And it will purify your heart if you are attentive, if your mind and your heart are open to receive it. When Srila Prabhupada was asked the translation of Gayatri Mantra, he answered in a very instructive way. Because when he gave this mantra to the devotees, they made a vow that they would chant this Gayatri Mantra 3 times every day for the rest of their lives. At sunrise, at noon, and at sunset. Now, if you're going to be chanting one of the sacred of all mantras, and it takes about 5 minutes to chant through the various lines of the Gayatri we were given, 3 times a day for our whole lives, it's quite reasonable to want to know what it means. So they asked, what is the meaning of this mantra, Srila Prabhupada? He said, there's no need to understand the meaning. Of course, it is in sacred Sanskrit alphabet, so there is a meaning. But he wouldn't tell us. He said there is no need to understand the meaning, because this is a transcendental sound vibration. And if you simply attentively hear these transcendental vibrations, they will awaken love of God within your heart. And the meaning will be revealed to you by Krishna within. This was his answer for many years. And finally, after some years, he did have one of his secretaries write out a translation. But please know that you cannot understand this mantra by reading the translation. You cannot even understand this mantra by being a perfect pundit of the Sanskrit language. Because this is not something that is intellectually understandable. Intellectual understanding of transcendental vibration is superficial. It is external. But it is the humility, submissiveness, and rapt attentiveness in which we are approaching the mantra, which attracts Krishna to reveal the true understanding within our heart. So here Krishna is explaining that the essence of everything that exists within this material creation is Him. How to see Him everywhere. How to never forget Him. How to always be Krishna conscious or conscious of Krishna. That is the purpose and the goal of our life. Krishna is explaining in this chapter how He is the best in every category. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Who can tell in what way the wind purifies? Does anyone know? Raise your hand and speak. Yes? Huh? Carries away the smell. Yes, definitely does like that. Huh? Huh? Purifies the lungs. No doubt. In fact, the lungs would die without it. Anyone else? How does the wind purify? Because the wind, it can be in any situation, but it is never contaminated by that situation. The wind can blow through a flower garden, and as Shobhavati has said, it will appear to assume the fragrance of the flower garden, be very sweet, and then that same wind will go into an area of sewage and will appear to carry the smell of the sewage. The wind will travel to all places, but it always remains aloof. It always remains pure. And the wind also through its powers gradually destroys even the great Himalayan mountains. Little by little, the wind, it is destroying the skyscrapers, the mountains, the civilizations. But the wind always remains in a situation which is aloof. In the same way, Krishna, in the form of time, in the form of material energy, He is destroying and ultimately purifying everything. But He always remains aloof. Krishna says, of wielders of weapons, I have Rāma. Lord Sri Ramchandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also, as far as the wind, we should also know that of all the demigods, the most powerful is considered to be Vayu. And Vayu is not just an ordinary devata, but he is actually an empowered expansion of the Supreme Personality of God. And we know of Hanuman. Hanuman was also an incarnation of Vayu, or the wind. And what special characteristics he had to purify even the greatest, most demoniac Rakshasas. Hanuman, by his power, his might, and by his devotion, he purified them. And later on, this purifying wind, Pavana, appeared as Bhima. Of all the Pandavas, he was the most powerful, the most undefeatable. And then, of course, in this age of Kali Yuga, he appeared as Madhvacharya. He was also an incarnation of Vayu, the wind god. And through his strong, large logic and argumentation, he purified the world of all the contaminations of atheism and Mayavad, misconception. So Vayu, or Pavana, Krishna says that he is the essence, he is the strength, he is the force. In the wind, which is the source of Hanuman, Bhima, Madhva, which is the ultimate destroyer of everything within this creation, you should know that I am that wind. And we are always being subjected to wind. In this way we can always remember Krishna. This gentleman is fanning me. He is creating wind. If I am Krishna conscious, every time he moves the fan, I should think that this breeze is Krishna. And the fan is blowing upon all of you just now. With this information, Krishna is giving an opportunity for you to know that the breeze that is purifying you from fatigue and heat, that is Krishna. And when you go outside and you see the leaves of the trees moving, we remember that who is moving these leaves? It is Krishna. Because the wind is everywhere. It's always a part of our life. If we understand this verse from the Gita, we will always remember Krishna. Of wielders of weapons, I am Rāma. There have been so many great mighty warriors, but Rāma is the best of all. Why is Rāma the best of all? Because he is actually the source of the strength of all the wielders of the weapons. Krishna says he is the strength of the strong. There is no strength outside of Krishna. Great conquerors like Alexander or Hitler or Napoleon, where did they get their strength from? It was all coming from Krishna. He is the source of all Shakti. But when he appears in his divine form of Rāma, he reveals the supreme embodiment of all strength. And if we forget that whatever strength we have, whatever opulence we have, is a gift of God, then we become like Ravana. Ravana was so powerful that even the devatas in the heavens were fearful of him. He was so mighty that he did defeat Indra. He had scars on his shoulders from Indra's thunderbolt, which were great decorations he was very proud of. But ultimately, when he came before Rāma with his bow and his arrow, he pierced the heart of Ravana and was the cause of his very death. Similarly, through the weapon of time, through the weapon of the various forces of material existence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead defeats all of us. A devotee understands that the ultimate strength behind everything is Krishna. Of fishes, I am the shark. People, when they go into the ocean, they are often afraid of sharks. So many incidences. I remember I was in New Zealand a few years ago. New Zealand is like a heavenly planet on Earth. So beautiful. Perhaps the most beautiful country I've ever seen in my whole life. There's no people passing stool on the side of the roads. There's no rats everywhere. In fact, it is such a heavenly place that there's no insects, there's no mosquitoes, there's no snakes. When you go on a plane to New Zealand, before you're allowed to get off the plane, they spray you with insecticides, just in case there's any germs or any insects on you. Because there's nuns exist in the country, and they don't want to import any from any other countries. I was 6 months in India. I was terribly sick for about 3 months. I went to New Zealand. I was dizzy. I was nauseous. I was weak. I was driving in a car with someone. We stopped on the side of the road and we picked an apple from a tree, and within 10 minutes I was better from this one apple. Because it's purely organic, fresh, full of vitamins, rich soil, beautiful mountains, beautiful ocean, beautiful everything. But later on I found out that it has the highest suicide rate in the whole world. So much for material comforts bringing happiness. It's not crowded. The cities, plenty of room. There's no poverty in the whole country, but the highest suicide rate in the whole world. How is that possible? Most beautiful country, purest air, purest water, purest food, complete employment for everyone, but everyone's miserable. And we're thinking that if we can just make everything nice and clean and tidy, then we will be happy. Not true. Actually, because they have everything they want, they don't realize that even with everything, I'm miserable. I might as well just kill myself. Us in this country, we're under the illusion that if I only have something else, then I'll be happy. They have everything. They're still not happy. So what is the use of life? Anyways, when I was sitting on a nice beach with my friend, very crystal clear waters, beautiful, beautiful everything around, nice weather, not too hot, not too cold. He told me that his best friend was swimming in the ocean just 1 week before I came. and he was eaten by a shark. Haribo. And he said generally, every couple months somebody gets eaten by a shark. So, he told me that whenever anyone goes in this beautiful paradise in the water, they're always afraid of the shark. So, they're shark conscious. So Krishna is so merciful, he's saying, I am the shark. So as you're fearing the shark, you just think of me. That Krishna might come and eat me at any minute. He might bite me at any minute. Even in Jagannath Puri, one of our friends, his relative was bathing in the ocean in Jagannath Puri, and he was eaten by a shark. We're all going to Puri in a couple of weeks. So we can all be very Krishna conscious while we're in the ocean. That at any moment Krishna might come and he might accept me as bhoga. Our body will be a bhoga offering to Krishna in the form of shark. And of flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Throughout the histories of the Vedic scriptures, there are so many beautiful, wonderful narrations of great saintly persons who worship the holy river Ganges. People from all around India, they go to Haridwar, Rishikesh, Varanasi, especially just to bathe in the Ganges. Even the water of the Ganges, people take in little bottles and they bring it home and they purify their puja, or they drink little water every day. In fact, people have so much faith in the river Ganges that I was recently speaking to one American environmentalist, and actually he was also with an Indian gentleman who was also in the environmental department, and they told me that technically the Ganges is one of the 3 most polluted rivers in the whole world, according to scientific research. But we never think of the Ganges like that. I used to live in Varanasi. I remember I'd be sitting on a little piece of stone that was a little raised, and I used to meditate and look down at the Ganges, and I'd see upstream there would be dozens and dozens and dozens of buffaloes in the Ganges, passing urine, passing stool, bathing their big bodies. And then I'd see a little downstream crematorium where bodies were being burnt, the ashes thrown in, bodies that died in other ways, like snake bites, they would just throw the body right in. And a little more down the road, or down the stream, I'd see all these sewage gutters just pouring all the city's sewage right in the river Ganges. And then a little bit downstream, there'd be thousands of people standing in line on these ghats to bathe in, to bow down, to bathe in the Ganges, to drink the water of the Ganges. And I was thinking that I have to give up my Western mentality of what is clean and what is unclean, because we have faith. We have faith that even if the water appears black, which sometimes it almost is, and we see all things floating, foaming bubbles, that the river Ganges is the shelter of all the great saints and sages since time immemorial. The river Ganges is originating at the feet of Krishna. And whatever man tries to do to it, it cannot change that fact, that it has come to the world to purify the world. And devotees have that faith. So Krishna says of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. What is it that is pure in the Ganges? It is its connection to Krishna. And whatever anyone tries to do to contaminate it, they cannot contaminate that essence, that it is originating in Krishna, that it is the Charanamrit of Krishna. So in this way, Krishna is giving us such a wonderful teaching by which we can appreciate Him and be conscious of Him 24 hours a day. Krishna says, one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, he is never lost. But he will find me everywhere. Maharaj Parikshit, in the womb of his mother, he had the darshan of Krishna. And after that, throughout his whole life, he was just looking for Krishna. He was looking for Krishna everywhere, in everyone, and in everything. And because he was seeking Krishna, Krishna was revealing Himself everywhere and in everything. As we approach Krishna, He will reward us accordingly. If we are looking for Krishna in the phenomena of this world, we will find Krishna, because Krishna is not different than the remembrance of His transcendental self. As soon as we remember Krishna, we find Krishna. When we remember Krishna by the wind of this fan, we actually find Krishna in the remembrance. When we remember Krishna by seeing any activity of any man or woman, we find Krishna. How to always remember Krishna? This is the most important question in our life. Bhagavad Gita teaches us the simple and sublime process. It comes through attentiveness, conscientiousness. Krishna consciousness is not simply a ritualistic form of religion. Krishna consciousness means to actually be aware, alert, attentive, and eager for Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami explains, the price of Krishna consciousness is the greed, the eagerness to be conscious of Krishna. We were speaking of Maharaj Parikshit. He was so eager to hear this message that he was tasting Krishna with every word Shukadev was speaking. And Shukadeva Goswami was so eager to speak that he was tasting Krishna in every word he spoke. And Prahlad Maharaj, how was he remembering Krishna? He was so eager to remember Krishna that when he was thrown in a pit of snakes, he considered that each snake is part of Krishna. And if Krishna wants to save me, He will save me. And if Krishna wants to kill me, He'll kill me through this snake. He was seeing Krishna in this snake. When he was thrown in fire, he was thinking that Krishna is the source and the controller of fire. He is the Lord of Agni Dev, who is the Lord of fire. And if Krishna wants to save me, then this fire will be cool and refreshing to me. And if Krishna wants to kill me, then He will come in the form of this fire to kill me. And if Krishna wants to kill me through this fire, let it kill me. And when deadly, terrible, vehement Rakshasas were coming with swords and knives and tridents to chop Prahlad to pieces, he was so eager, so anxious to remember Krishna, that the metal that this trident is composed of has been created by Krishna. And these Rakshasas, they are part of Krishna. So in this way, he was so anxious to remember Krishna that he was seeing Krishna even in the so-called most horrible situations of life. And he was fearless. In fact, he was joyful. This is the qualification that we must all acquire. To be anxious, to be eager. Rupa Goswami said, to be greedy, to find Krishna everywhere, to remember Krishna everywhere, to serve Krishna everywhere. We should strive when we are hearing this message to be so anxious to experience the mercy of Krishna in every word we read, in every word we hear. This should be our attention. And when we're chanting the holy name, we should be eager and anxious to glorify Krishna when we chant and to hear the sound of Krishna's name. And to the degree you are eager to hear the name and eager to chant the name, to that degree you will be purified by the name. And this is the difference between ritual that is empty and material and actual devotional service. We perform so many rituals in our devotional service. We are offering arti. We are chanting mantras. There are so many Brahmins that do all of these things. We are cooking in such a way, offering the food in such a way, preparing the food in such a way. We are bathing at certain times of the day for our purification. There are so many rituals that we are performing. Materialistic Brahmins, they are performing the same rituals. What is the difference? Why they remain greedy for money? Why they're always trying to cheat us? Why they have so many ulterior motives if they're performing the same rituals that we are? It is not a question of what you do, it is a question of how you do it. Because they are performing these rituals simply because they feel that it is their duty and they are supposed to. Or they're afraid not to. Or that because it is the tradition. But devotional service means that we perform each one of our ritualistic activities in Krishna consciousness with an eagerness, with a greed to please Krishna, to experience the mercy of Krishna. This is the real sum and substance of Krishna consciousness. To be longing, striving, to be conscious of Krishna, to remember Krishna in everything we do, in everything we see, in everything we experience. And if we hear these words of Bhagavad Gita and develop this aspiration, then you will find that this Krishna consciousness movement is full of excitement, vitality, and incredible joy. Why sometimes we're performing devotional service and we're bored. We're bored with chanting. We're bored with hearing lectures. We're bored with doing our service. It is because we have a materialistic approach to our devotional service. We're not seeking Krishna in our devotional service. We're forgetting Krishna. For a devotee who strives to remember Krishna and see Krishna in everything that happens in our life, to that devotee, he sees a miracle taking place at every moment. His life is full of joy, full of the great, every day is the most wonderful adventure in serving Krishna. People go to the cinemas and they watch the televisions because they're looking for some adventure to occupy their mind with, because they're so bored with life. These horror films, you know what horror means? Films that are full of, they're supposed to make you scared. These are the most popular films these days. Where there's murders and there's terrible monsters and there's incredible special effects that just put you at the edge of your seat in fear. Will the dinosaur eat him? Will this mad, crazy person eat him or kill him or slaughter him? Huh? They're spending millions and millions and billions of dollars on special effects just to make you scared. Why? Because you're so bored with life. You just have to occupy your mind with something that's adventurous. It is because we are dull. It is because we are ignorant that we have to do these things, that we have to see these things. If we are Krishna conscious, if we're looking for Krishna, if we're anxious to remember Krishna, Krishna will reveal the most wonderful adventure at every moment of your life. How wonderful it is that his arm is moving in such a wonderful way to move this fan. How Krishna is performing such a miracle by just moving his arm. He's performing such a miracle by just letting the soul see through these eyes. Every piece of wood, every piece of glass, we see in this house is actually a miracle created by God. Is it not? Why can't we see it? Because we're not looking for it. It's right before our eyes, but we're not seeing because we're not looking. Search for Krishna, and you'll see Krishna everywhere. But the proper training that we have is especially to experience Krishna through hearing and chanting. To experience Krishna through His name, by enthusiastically approaching the name. Let us never become bored with devotional service. How is it that Srila Haridas Thakur was chanting 192 rounds every day? And he was never bored. For us, 16 rounds. But he wasn't one of these showman speakers with all kinds of orchestras behind them, with all kinds of different techniques to keep you awake, with all sorts of ways to try to mesmerize your mind. He just spoke the truth. Srila Prabhupada was like Shukadeva Goswami. There was nothing fancy about the way he spoke. He just spoke the truth. Today in India, the big speakers are people who tell so many jokes that you're just laughing. And you think, oh, how nice. He kept my attention. Or they have all kinds of instrumentation behind them. Shukadeva didn't do like that. Prabhupada did not do like that. Bhakti Siddhanta did not do like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not do like that. Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, they just spoke the truth. Parikshit Maharaj was so anxious to hear. That is how he was not bored, even after 7 days and 7 nights. I see so many of you today, your eyes are starting to close. You are moving about. You are hungry. No doubt I'm a terrible speaker, but still the words I'm saying are from the Bhagavad Gita. If we understand the urgency of how important it is to hear, and we're eager for every word, we will find such excitement, fulfillment, and enlightenment in every word. So let us end this discussion tonight with this thought in mind, that every activity we perform in our devotional life, Krishna will reveal Himself in that activity according to our eagerness, attentiveness to remember Krishna in that activity, and to serve and please Krishna in that activity. Haribo. So, please stand up.